Hey y'all, it's your girl ShesLoc'd, and I'm back with another video. So this is episode 5 of A Day in the Life of a Loctician. I had a couple clients today, but I wanted to record the very last one. This client, I am interlocking, aka retying her roots. She has micro locks. She's a new client. This is her first time coming to me, which we love that for us. So with interlocking or retying a client's locks, it could get tricky because sometimes it looks like there's room to still keep going with the retie, but the tool is too big to get through the new growth, so then it gets stuck like this. But there's always like a little bit of room to go even further, so I'm thinking about getting like that plastic tool that people use to retie, so I could give my clients a more closer retie. But this tool is also great. I got this tool and other tools from, I think, a hair store. You could get it from your nearest hair store or Amazon. Also, sometimes the client has budding ends because she's a little over a year, but sometimes the clients have budding ends, so the top of their locks are skinnier and then the bottom is a little thicker. And sometimes when interlocking that, it gets tricky as well because the bottom doesn't really want to go through the new growth, and you don't want to do it to where it's hurting the client. So I always try to wiggle it to see if it'll go through, or just put the very end of the lock in the tool, so that way there's not too much tension when pulling the locks through the new growth. So when I'm retightening micro locks, I usually don't use a comb because it's unnecessary. I use my fingers to like move away the stray hairs, or I'll like twist the stray hairs around the lock and then interlock all of it together to get that neat, clean look. But I really don't need a comb because their locks are already small, so the parts are pretty much still visible. I would say my specialty when it comes to locks is interlocking because I get it done in a timely manner. And every time I'm done with my clients, they always say how light it feels. It's never tight. It's taut, but not tight. So when you look at it, you get that fresh, clean look, but it doesn't feel like, you know, you're about to get a headache from it. And I just love interlocking. Like, I feel like I be in another world because I just be, it's like jamming in your head, but there's no music because I just enjoy doing this. As you guys can see, I'm doing the 2-point rotation. There is a 2-point, 3-point, and a 4-point. I always do 2-point because it's easier for me to see where I left off. The 4-point is a little more complex. It's not hard at all. It's just sometimes I forget the last place that I left off. So I always love doing the 2-point, and it leaves a little room for the lock. It's not super tight. It's just enough for your lock size. So here I'm showing you guys where you guys could potentially get a hole in your locks if you go the wrong way. The last person that interlocked her locks, I was trying to follow her pattern. You always get a Y, and then you always want to go in the opposite of the Y. So when you put your finger through the lock, you'll see the Y, and then you go the opposite way of the Y, where the Y opens up at, to avoid holes in your locks. Of course, you could repair that. It's not the end of the world if you get holes in your locks, but it's just easier to avoid that. So I asked my client what style did she want. She wanted a couple braids going back. I am not the best at braiding. That's not my specialty. But, you know, I make it do what it do. If you want some braids, I could give it to you. Just know they're not going to be like super perfect because, like I said, it's not my specialty. I feel like it's easier braiding locks than it is loose natural hair. But it's, yeah, you know, it's gonna give you what you need, okay? No extras and no less. All right, okay. So I had to make sure that these braids were loose enough that way she's not feeling it, because I just retied her whole head and I don't want it to be too tight, but the braid needs to be tight enough so where it's not falling apart. And when I get to the bottom, like those last couple rows of locks, I always make sure they are loose and not super tight, because that's the easiest ways to get those little bumps in the back of your neck, under your hairline. And I don't want to be the one to do that to you. So I always loosen those up when braiding anybody's hair. And y'all, excuse how I'm chewing this gum because I was just in my zone. Just ignore that part and just, you know, the braids, back to the braids. When you are using needle and thread, whether on yourself or on a client, please be careful not to stick the client and not to stick yourself. Yeah, we don't want them problems. Before I use a needle and thread in anybody's hair, they always ask me to use it. I don't just use needle and thread in someone's locks unless they're asking me. When cutting the thread, I get a close cut, but I always make sure that I'm not cutting the person's locks, because that would be tragedy. Like, no. But we want to get a close cut to where we're not seeing the thread, because although the thread is the same color as the locks, it's very noticeable when there's like a string hanging out of someone's locks. And I always oil and spray their locks with leave-in. And that's the end of this appointment. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, check out the description box for my TikTok and Instagram information to follow me on other platforms. Thank you for the support, and I will see you guys in my next video.